Hi, it's Kathy from Raven Vintage, back with part two, talking about scraps, having a very scrappy conversation. In the first video, I sorted with you one of my bins. I told you I have three. I've gotten through all three of them. I also mentioned that I had a couple shoe boxes and like some more scraps floating around. Well, guess what? I found more. I knew it. I knew it. So turns out I have, you may have some of these, or the scrapbook cases. I got these at Michael's. I have, I think, I counted three, there might be four full of scraps. So those have not been sorted yet, but I will get to those. So today I wanted to show you the next steps that I want to do in sorting these three bins. I'll get to the other stuff eventually, but ain't nobody got time for that. So I thought I would just review what we talked about in the first video, is why we keep scraps, how to store them, how much is too much, ideas to use them, and then tips for keeping them manageable. So I will zoom you in here a little bit, and you can certainly screenshot this if you like. There we go. So we talked about how to organize by type, separating paper, fabric, ribbon, other materials. We talked about sorting by size and usability. We did not talk necessarily about sorting by project. So that's something I added to the list because as I was sorting, I thought, oh, that was for a specific project and maybe I should pull it out of there. So that's one thing we're going to do today. And then I showed you how I organize by, as I'm sorting through my bins, tinies, small, medium, large, strips, and cutoffs. And by cutoffs, anything that's part of the 12 by 12 original size. And then we keep our frequently used scraps accessible, which is something I'm going to do today. And then we talked about storage solutions. So bins, envelopes, folders, clear plastic containers. I showed you how I just make quickly a little folder using a stapler and a piece of scrap paper to put all the tinies in, or the smalls, for example. And then we also mentioned about if you do go crafting, like if you need it to be portable, then you might want some smaller storage solutions to grab and go if you do take your scraps with you, if you're crafting on the run. So, or, you know, getting together with others and going to events, that sort of thing. So, and then we talked about labeling and sorting our bins once they were all done. And then I asked you for some feedback, and I have got some really good feedback from you. So thank you for that. Some really great ideas. One of them being, we talked about sorting by vintage, floral, neutral tones, etc. Definitely color coding seems to be a motivating factor for you to sort. So I was really glad to hear that. I got some more feedback about baggies, that sort of thing, different types of storage solutions. So go back to my first video on this scrap talk, and I'll link it at the end of this video, and look at the comments, because some of you creative people have some really fantastic ideas. The other thing we did was we talked about how to keep our scraps manageable. So I really want us, the outcome of all of this is what I'm hoping will be, is that I hope we start to treat our scraps a little more like our other junk journal supplies. They do have value. So this might make us or cause us to take more care in how we store them. And it also might remind us to start using them instead of having scraps bins that are 5 years old or more. Dedicating a maximum space and containers to hold your scraps. So by dedicating a maximum space, you need to decide what real estate you're going to allow in your craft space, creative space, for scraps. If it's just this shelf and that's it, or under the desk and that's it, or this drawer and that's it, don't exceed it. And then how do you do that if you have more than exceeds the space? Well, you keep your favorites. If it doesn't fit, you recycle it, you can trade it or donate it, or of course you can make something. Just start crafting. So if you keep your favorites or the best ones, the best scraps, and start with those first and fill up your space, then whatever's left over, those decisions become easier. So that's something I just learned recently from this decluttering collab that I'm part of. My video is coming out January 13th, by the way. We talked about the 1-year rule to toss or donate scraps that haven't been used in a year, and I really don't think I would ever do that, but maybe some of you could. And we talked about maybe doing a scrap challenge. So I actually have one of those going on right now with no time limit on it. I don't know. This could be an ongoing thing, but if you add a hashtag Scrappy Raven and do this 15-minute challenge where I challenge you to grab your scrap box, take some stuff out of there, maybe do a quick curated sort of colors or themes or something, and in 15 minutes, make something. And then show me what you made and hashtag, you can tag me at Raven Vintage CA. This is Instagram I'm talking about. And then you can also, or if you're doing a YouTube video, use this hashtag, Scrappy Raven. And then I will be able to see those and share those. Another thing we talked about to manage our scraps was to share and possibly trade. So you could do a scrap swap with your crafty friends. Now, of course, you want that to be nicely packaged and sent off, maybe by Happy Mail or something like that. And then the last idea was, of course, scrap-inspired projects. So we talked about maybe making a small journal or doing like a master board, a collage, something like that. And some of the feedback I got was someone uses them for die cuts. So they just have some scraps left over, make some die cuts, and then they store that as ephemera, I'm assuming. So I don't have die cuts. I don't use die cuts. I use punches though. So thank you for that tip. I think her name was Oh Heck. I love that handle. Oh Heck. I thought that was fabulous. I'm pretty sure that's who it was. And I thought, okay, I'm going to use my punches. So from your comments, I'm inspired. So thank you very much. And let's get started then on the second stage of sorting of my 3 bins, not the other stuff. Let's do that. So 1, 2, 3, let's pick one. I don't care. Let's pick, I don't care. Let's see what we have. Oops, I bounced my camera. Sorry about that. This is probably super loud. My apologies. I'll see if I can mute that. Okay, so I had a lot of end cuts from scrapbook paper. I noticed that. So I think what I should do is dedicate one bin, just one bin to, let me back you up here a bit. I want to dedicate just one bin to scrapbook paper cutoffs. I think that's what I want to do. And then make another bin for smalls and tinies, which we packaged up in these little pouches. And then the third bin could be for the medium to large items. How does that sound? I think that's what I want to do. So as you recall, when I did my initial sort, I did tiny, small, medium, large. And I'll demonstrate again how I figured that out. And then I had strips. We all know what strips are. And then cutoffs, a little different than strips. Simply that a strip is going to look like an actual strip, quite thin. And a cutoff is going to be something a little more substantial. Now your cutoffs might not, there's other, cutoffs doesn't necessarily mean 12 by 12. I have different size of cutoffs, but when I was sorting my cutoffs, I was referring to one of the description piles as 12 by 12s. Okay, so how are we going to do this with trying to stay on camera? So here's another thing I've learned recently from this decluttering collab I'm in is that you don't want to make a mess while you're decluttering. You don't want to add mess to your mess. So you find a home for it, put it there, and get rid of the garbage and such. There's a bunch of, you wait till you see those videos. They're fabulous. The decluttering process by Dana White's really, really great. But you don't want to make piles and make a mess. You want to stay within what you're doing. So these I kept on top of each of my bins. These were traveler's notebooks, and the lamination didn't work out. See how it's lifting and bubbling? So these are oops. So I might get rid of these, and that was my first thought. They're no good. So what am I going to do? But then I thought, you know what? These would actually make really good little mats or trays for saving my workspace, gluing. So maybe these will become glue mats. I'm not quite ready to let these go because I still feel like they have purpose. So it might not be in a junk journal, but it might be as a tool. So these I'm going to keep. So I'm just going to tuck them on. They'll probably go in the medium to large bin, which is this one. What makes sense to do it in order? Yeah, the smalls and tinies, medium, large, and then I'll do the scrapbook cutoffs here. So this actually will go into probably the medium and small. Sorry, medium, large. I'm going to stick that there for right now, but it's causing a shadow. So let's try this side. It's December. It's dark. Trying to use daylight to film. There we go. Okay. Now, when I mentioned that I added this new category, sorting by project, what made me think of it is I came across a lot of these. So these are scraps of some sort or unfinished gratitude journals that I make. This is one of my lost leaders for selling at craft fairs and such. So this is a 30-day gratitude challenge. And they end up in these little books. And I've tried, this is me testing different ways to do those. Different styles. Those actually look like notebooks. These two. Yeah, those are just notebooks. And those are just, okay, so I do have a shoe box for notebooks. So, notepads. It's called notepads. So, I'm putting it away. I'm putting it in its home. So this is my little box full of notepads. It's a lot of game score pads, that sort of thing. And it's full. Okay, so back to the gratitude stuff. So that's what these are. So I noticed, I think in a couple of boxes, I had some scraps. And then these are the journal cards, or sorry, the gratitude prompt lists that they get tucked into the inside pocket of these. So I know this is an ongoing project. I know that I will make these again. It's something I do often. So I am grabbing an empty bin. And I'm going to assign this bin as a project bin for my gratitude challenge booklets that I make. And then this has a spot up, maybe I'll sneak a picture in, of my shoebox find that I got thrifting that holds these. So I'll be putting that up there. Emptied out one of these by sorting a few quick sorts. I took my paper pads that were in here and put them up on my new paper pad shelf. So that emptied this out, and I forgot I had those paper pads. So that was kind of fun. So this bin I'm going to use, I don't know if you recall me mentioning or not, but I have a lot of this type of paper, this kind of antique-y paper. There's all kinds of end cuts in each of these bins from making those hand-stitched notebooks. So I know there's a fair amount of it. So I'm going to use one of these containers dedicated just for that. And here are some end cuts. See, this is all that same paper. So I'm going to use this bin just for that. And whenever I find it, see, it was in the smalls, it was in the large, it was in the medium. So I know that this paper is now all going to be in one location. So when I go to make more notebooks, or say I'm doing a journal and I want some of this paper, it's all going to be in one spot. Just going to quickly buzz through here. See, no, it must have been, oh, it was this one. It's the first one I did. So there's all kinds of it, but it's all the same paper, so it's going in this container. I hope it's big enough because I have so much of it. Looks like I'm going to make it. So in step 2 of this process, I have now, from the 3 bins, grabbed this antique paper that I was using. I just need to make room. It really filled this up quickly, but see how much I had? I'll have to do this. I have so much of it, and it was across these 3 bins, and I might find some more, but now I have a dedicated spot just for that paper, so I can put that with my, store this on my 12 by, what are those little shelves called? Cubby shelves that hold, I'll see if I can learn how to insert a picture, I'm going to do that. So they hold, they're from Michael's, they're little cube shelves. They have 1 shelf in the middle. So 2 of these are on the bottom and 2 are on the top shelf. So they hold stackable cubes that hold 4 of these. And by having that divider, it makes it a lot easier than stacking all of these on top of each other. You only have to move one, maybe 2. Okay, so I'm going to take all of my strips from the first bin over here, and I'm going to put them beside these strips for now. I'm going to take all of these strips it's more like a medium, and put them with these strips in this bin here. I'm removing the medium and large from the first bin, which are going to go here. So let's just set them at the end. So now I have teeny tinies in the first bin and smalls. So from the other 2 bins, I'm going to grab those. So here's some more teenies going in the first bin. This was my medium, or my smalls, technically. So this one's not stapled, but I did just put a paper folded around. So these are the smalls, so they're going in here. I'm going to just move this over here for a second so I can get in. Down here, there's my tinies from that sort going in there. And then this takes a little bit of thinking, but basically having those kind of fake folders here again, where I just wrap the paper around, makes it really easy to grab all of those and put them in here. Okay, so technically I actually have room in here for, maybe I'll put mediums in. So I'm going to let that flop over for a sec. Okay, so from this bin I'm going to take the medium stack. Now will it fit sideways? Strip that in there. You know, it would be great if I could stand it up. Here's a strip. And then this was mediums. I could have even wrapped a paper around those, but this is mediums as well. I'm going to see if I can stand these up. And if they're too big, then I'll pull them out and put them with the large. Make sense? Yep, that works. That works. And I like that because now I can flip through when I'm looking for stuff. This is fabulous. All right, so this is a little big, so I'm going to take it out and put it with large. These I would say are mediums. Maybe some of them just need to be turned a bit. Actually, that's fine actually, because it can bend down a bit. This, however, might need to go with the large. So what am I left with? So down here I have, my goal would be to have end cuts and strips. Let's do it that way. So I'm taking the large out. Look, I even have some directions. Stick them in there for a second. These appear to be mediums. I'm liking how quickly this is going. So that initial sort is really helping me with this second part of the sort. And I'm sorry there's a bit of a shadow, but so I am left with strips and end cuts. So let's put the other end cuts in here. They are here. That one was a little wider. It'll fit. End cuts. A little bit wide. So I'm just going to stand that up on the edge. Might have to go with my larges instead. As will that. So let me just set this aside for a second. This is a strip. Goes in there. These are cut-offs from making the childless notebook. So technically they're end cuts. But they are like that acetate stuff. So I'm just going to put them on the edge. Some end cuts here. Those are large, large, large. So that's all large in the bottom. So large is going in there, large is going in there. What do I have left? These poor stickers. I'm going to put that in my grandkids' craft box. These are envelopes, and this I would probably put with my ephemera stash, which that's probably going to be part of my sorting video for my decluttering collab. So, which is just right under my desk. So I'm just tucking that there. These, remember I told you I keep because I use them in between sheets while I'm gluing to keep my pages dry. So there is a drawer for those just behind me. So I'll put that back there. So that's down to all larges. Now look at this. I actually have room in this bin. I could probably put my larges in there. So let's see. If I had, yep, this would make a really good divider. So this is like a file folder or a ledger book cover. So I'm going to use that as the divider so I can easily grab that out on top so that I could access the end cuts and the strips. You are a medium. You were supposed to go there. Now these ended up being a book that I deconstructed, so it's specialty paper, but of medium size. I wouldn't really call this scrap, so I would like to put this somewhere where there's specialty paper, but I don't really have a specific spot in mind for that right now. So since it doesn't have a home, I'm going to keep it here with the mediums, but I'm going to put it at the front of the bin. And then maybe next time when I'm working on specialty paper sorting, I'll remember that that's there and I'll grab it out and put it with it. This would be a small, that's another one of those plastic things I want to keep for. Now look at that. Would you look at that? I have an empty bin, and I know a big part of that is because of separating that antique paper. Now I can find it. I have all this paper and it's all in one spot. It's all the same type, it's just different sizes. It's going to go on my cube shelf, tucked away nicely. This is wonderful. And now I have tinies, smalls, and mediums in one bin, and I can flip through this very easily. I can grab a bundle at a time. So say I did a cluster challenge, I could take these smalls and do a bunch of clusters. Fabulous. And in here, let me get this empty one out of the way. In here, I put a separator in with the biggest piece, and it's a sturdy piece. So I can lift these large pieces, which are mostly 8.5 by 11s, out. I can get to all of my end cuts. I can flip through, find what I want. I found some beautiful end cuts, by the way, when I was doing this. Absolutely gorgeous. And then over here are strips. So I could grab a handful of strips for making belly bands, or reinforcing the edge of a page, or doing a collage, masterboard with of strips, doing like that quilting thing. This is a great project for strips. See, these are all strips. So you start with a square in the middle. You measure, the way you can do that is you can take you need to start with a square. I'll do a video about this. You start with a square, you fold it in half one way, fold it in half the other, so that you have your kind of center point. You line up your little square in the middle, and then you start with one strip and go all the way around, and then the next color all the way around, next color, and then you get this quilt effect. It's a really fun little project. We'll do that soon. But anyways, right now this is considered a large piece, and it's going in here. So what I don't have, this technically right now is the only master board that I have. So this would actually make a really pretty journal cover. If I scored that, I could make that into a cover. But I don't have any other master boards, but that would be a separate file. If I made up a bunch of master boards, which I plan on doing with my scraps, I would put that in there. But for now, it's going to live with the scraps. So I'm going to keep this empty and dedicated for other scraps, because I will get around to sorting the other 12 by 12 bins of scraps, my shoe boxes of scraps, and the file boxes I told you about. And then I'll probably spread these out again. So I'll probably end up with likely tinies and smalls, medium and large, and then the end cuts and the strips. That's I'm assuming, knowing what I have, that's what I'm going to end up with. So that is fabulous. So that's it for this video. So the next video, part 3, and probably the last part of this scrap series, Scrappy Talk, is I'm going to show you how to tidy up your scraps and use that idea from that gal, oh heck, about die cutting, but for me it's going to be punching. I'm going to make some ephemera, and we're going to possibly well, maybe there's going to be a part 4, and we'll do a little scrappy journal. How's that sound? But I hope you enjoyed part 2 with the second stage of sorting. And I will, like I said, I'll link the first video at the end of this one in the description box below. I'm going to put those tips again for sorting and managing your scraps. So thank you for hanging out with me and helping me sort my scraps, and take care. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.